at Retro Q Gaming. Thoughts on certain retro games, arcade, PC, and console, never seeing re-release or remastering on modern platforms due to complicated license issues. For example, Konami's Aliens, Capcom's Alien vs. Predator, Capcom's The Punisher, Sierra's No One Lives Forever series, which I'm surprised about that one. What do you think, Ian?
So, it sucks that we can't play these on modern systems through a re-release. Obviously, licensing is a pain in the ass. But I think it's only recently that we as game players have begun to expect everything to be playable, or almost everything to be playable, or constantly re-released or collected on compilations, and available at our fingertips to be played. I mean, Alien vs. Predator is probably my favorite arcade game, or extraordinarily close to it. I mean, it's maybe the only beat 'em up I ever put time into actually getting good at, and not just trying to, quarter feed. And it's a game with a lot of skill, and it's fun. But I just feel like, I don't know, this wasn't a question that was asked about other games that had licensing issues maybe 10 years ago. It's only now, I think, as more and more stuff gets re-released, we notice these gaping holes with these really good licensed games that are missing. So I don't know what the thoughts I'm supposed to have are on it. It sucks. But I'm not super worried about it either, because preservation-wise, these are all dumped. We have the ROMs of these. So my only real concern would be is if, somehow licensing rights, and it's not like these games have entirely vanished. They're still around. They're still preserved. They're still out there in ways that people can play them. It's just not conveniently easy to do it with, a PlayStation 4, or something that you have hooked up to your TV. And that's a shame. But, there's no reason for Capcom or certainly not Konami, to go out there and, and spend the money to get these licensing rights back for, to do a PlayStation Network, download version of Alien vs. Predator. I wish they would.
I wonder if
I'd buy it 10 times.
I wonder if they're not even just too lazy to look into it. Maybe it would even cost a huge amount. I don't know.
Perhaps. But
it's not worth their time.
Yeah, it's just not worth these companies' times. I'd be a lot more concerned, like I had said already, if for some reason, somehow they had not been able to preserve these, but these are all dumped. These are all out there.
Yeah.
That's my only major concern is, as long as they're preserved, ports are nice.
You can find an arcade cabinet somewhere for a lot. We're talking about mostly arcade cabinets. I mean, Capcom's The Punisher, it's also an arcade game.
Yeah.
So that's where Sierra's No One Lives Forever. I don't know anything about that.
No One Lives Forever, I believe, was I don't think there's any actual licenses used. I think it was just so obviously a James Bond knockoff game that I think there was.
But you can do games like that without.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely certain.
It's a story-driven game in the 60s. Yeah, so what? They had tons of shows. They had Man from U.N.C.L.E. in the 60s.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I'm not exactly sure what the licensing problem would be there, though. I don't know enough about it.
The mentality of gamers has changed a lot in 20, 30 years. So it was in the late 80s to even late 90s that you weren't expecting all these games to come out on a console, right? Or even a PC. So we went to Barnacle Bills in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and played Simpsons arcade game, which is probably the first time I ever saw that game. And like when that came out, like 90. Mm-hmm. What a magical fucking game Simpsons arcade game is. What a beautiful machine. It does the franchise justice. It's the best you could have done for a Simpsons game at the time. Better than the Super Nintendo games, that's for damn sure. Yeah. So we didn't think about, we won't be able to play this on a console. Probably also because arcade games were still so far ahead technology-wise from Super Nintendo and Genesis and obviously NES that you can only play them in an arcade. So when we played Spider-Man arcade game, which Ian discovered in my main machine, so it wasn't all bad. When we saw these games as kids or young teenagers, we weren't thinking about what's going to happen 10 years from now when we can't play these arcade games anymore. It wasn't even a thought. It was like, this is in the arcade. We play the arcade. Arcade games, when you went to the arcade regularly and you didn't see a game anymore, you couldn't even really whine about it because You didn't know what games were coming out, what was disappearing. You had no fucking clue what arcade games were going to show up. Like when Mortal Kombat shows up, you didn't know Mortal Kombat was a game until you see it in front of your face.
You're like, oh,
you don't know,
or you heard about it from a friend.
You don't know NBA Jam's a thing until you fucking find this huge arcade. You know what I mean? Like there was no arcade gaming magazine to make you aware of it. There was no internet that we knew of to be aware of this stuff. So now we go back and say, okay, we have ROMs. We have RetroPies where you can play all this stuff. We have main machines. So we're thinking, yeah, we want to see. It's interesting. We want to see licensed re-releases of games that we've been playing illegally for 25 years. So once we want to see these, and we want to see a Simpsons arcade release in some form, would be great. We just may never see it, so it's kind of a shame. You know, It's almost like you would sell a lot of them most likely if you could. If you put Simpsons Arcade on Switch or on Steam, it would probably sell a good fucking amount. You would think.
Oh yeah, some of these would sell a ton, but it's a matter of whether or not they want to chase backwards or just keep moving forwards.
Sure.